This is how I study the Bible. I start out by watching a sermon on YouTube, or Joseph Prince has an app where he has all his sermons. But today I started listening to Rick Warren from Saddleback Church, Learn How to Thrive When Your World is Shaken Up. And sometimes I end up taking a ton of notes and sometimes not much at all, because in this case, at about 17 minutes in, he read John 16:33, and that led me down a rabbit hole, whatever it's called, and kicked off my own Bible study. So John 16:33 in the Message translation: "In this world you will experience difficulties, but take heart, I have conquered the world. I've told you this so that in trusting me you will be unshakable and deeply at peace." So the first part of this verse was depressing. You will experience difficulties. But then I decided to focus on the second part of the verse. You will be unshakable. You will be deeply at peace. So all we have to do is trust in God, and whatever difficulties come our way won't affect us. I think it's kind of like if there's a storm outside, well, all we have to do is go inside, and then we're not affected by the storm anymore. So don't sit outside in the storm complaining about getting wet. Just go inside. And that's what trusting in God will give us. It'll give us shelter and protection from the storm. So those were the thoughts that I had when I read this verse. Then I wanted to look up this verse and look up different translations. I used the Bible Gateway app on my phone, and I like starting in the Passion Translation. That's what TPT stands for. And as I was scrolling through to see John 16:33, I noticed that I had highlighted 16:23. So that's where the new direction of Bible study started for me. "For here is eternal truth. When that time comes, you won't need to ask me for anything, but instead you will go directly to the Father and ask him for anything you desire, and he will give it to you because of your relationship with me." The footnote K says, "He will give it to you in my name." So that was really exciting. You can ask him for anything. So my summary was, God will give you anything you desire if you ask him for it. Right there, ask him for anything. 2, if you ask in Jesus' name. Right here, he will give it to you in my name, because it's Jesus speaking here. And 3, if you have a relationship with Jesus, because it said right here that why will he give it to you? Because of your relationship with me. So I thought, well, I better figure out how to have this type of relationship with Jesus. So my thoughts on that were, let's figure out this relationship. I gave myself an assignment, which is going to take a while, to go through the entire 4 Gospels and make a list of attributes the disciples had with attributes of the relationship the disciples had with Jesus. Things they did, things they didn't do, things they believed, things they didn't believe. But because I didn't have all day to research that, I thought, well, one thing I know for sure in this relationship, you're not required to be perfect, but you are required to trust him. For one, it says back here, so that in trusting me, you will be unshakable and deeply at peace. So we know that trust is involved. And I also know that we're not required to be perfect, because it says that all throughout the New Testament. So my little graphic here, I do things like this so it'll stick out to me when I'm paging through my notes. Eventually I want to art journal my notes so they look nice, not just scribbles like this. But when I'm studying the Bible, I like to hurry up and write it down. But I do have to trust in God. I don't have to be perfect, because I can't be perfect. So I looked up John 16:23 and the other translations. I like to do that because they'll give me new revelation or thought patterns sometime. John 16:23 in the Amplified Version. In that day you will not need to ask me about anything. I assure you and most solemnly say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name as my representative, he will give you. The King James Version says, and in that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. The Expanded Bible Version says, in that day, after his resurrection, you will not ask me for anything. I tell you the truth. And I took a note there by truth. The truth will set you free, because you hear that all the time. So I thought this next part of the verse is what's going to set me free. So the second part of the verse in the Expanded Bible Version says, truly, truly, I say to you, my Father will give you anything you ask for in my name. Then in the footnotes it says, see 14:13. John 14:13 in the Expanded says, and if you ask for anything in my name, asking in my name means acknowledging that Jesus is the mediator between God and human beings. The name represents the person. I will do it for you so that the Father's glory will be shown. The Father might be glorified through or in the Son. So that tells me one of the things to have your request answered, one of the purposes is so that God will be glorified, so that God's glory will be shown and will be glorified. Then I decided I better make sure I know what glory and glorified means, so I looked it up in the dictionary. Glory means highly renowned or honor won by a notable achievement. So my success should honor God. My success should point to God's achievements. I thought, what are God's achievements? Well, God's achievements are something I can't do and something only God can do. A miracle is something only God can do. So my success should reveal God. Glorified, the definition says, especially of something or someone ordinary or unexceptional, represented in such a way as to appear more elevated or special. I thought that's a perfect example of God's glory working through me, because I'm ordinary, I'm unexceptional, and I'm not putting myself down. It's just the truth compared to what God can do. I'm just ordinary and unexceptional. But glorified, to be glorified, it means that it will represent in a way to appear elevated or special. So when God is glorified, God can take something ordinary and unexceptional like me and make it appear more elevated or special. So that encouraged me. Because God will elevate my ordinary, unexceptional work, and people will see success. The success is clearly from God and not my mediocrity. So stop worrying about the quality of my videos and my other work that I do, and just do my best, because God's strength comes through in my weakness. I'm not saying just don't try. Always do my best, but don't worry about the quality, because God will make it effective to the people that it's supposed to be effective to. If somebody doesn't like my videos or my work, well, maybe God didn't intend it for them. Maybe God intended somebody else's work to reach them. So that's why I don't have to worry about the quality, because the people who are supposed to be reached through my work will be, and the people who aren't supposed to be, there's another Christian out there that's supposed to reach them, who has different talents that will match that person's desires. So I wrote down, just publish that Bible study as is. That's what the previous video that I published to this, I had, after I made it, I sat on it for a while and didn't want to publish it because it was like this one, no artistic visuals. I just didn't think it was very good at all. But that's when I realized, well, maybe it doesn't have to be good in my eyes. I just have to obey God, publish my ideas, and God will make it effective to whoever needs to hear that message. Then I wrote a note, my book can be polished. So maybe my videos aren't polished, but these videos are a log of what I learn in my Bible studies. So I've been saying for years I'm going to write a book, of course. Haven't yet, but it's on my list. So here was in the Bible Gateway app. I like that they have the footnotes where you can just tap on it and a pop-up comes up in the app. So let's see here, John 16:23. Did I say Amplified? I meant to say the Passion Translation. But for the footnote in the 23rd verse that I just read earlier, it says, "He will give it to you in my name." So that goes along with what right there. Yeah, I guess I already did go over that. If you ask in Jesus' name, right there. But I love this app because you can just tap on the footnote to see the explanation. So I hope these verses helped you. I hope the lack of quality in my videos lately isn't getting in the way of anyone hearing the encouraging message that Jesus has to offer. If you like my ramblings, or if they're encouraging, please hit subscribe and then also hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified. Otherwise, my channel will get lost in the sea of millions of other videos. And thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.